VIP Records.
This is Rachel Canella, and I'm back again today with America, Land of the Slaves. And in this video, we're going to be talking about our First Amendment right to free speech and religion and so on. We're going to be explaining why the First Amendment of the United States Constitution is important. And so that you guys can understand what rights we have and the beginning of the Constitution and just get a little bit more educated. I'm here with my friend Don. He's going to be commenting again today with us. Don?
Yes, hello.
Alright. But really what the First Amendment was actually for was it protects the right to freedom of religion and freedom of expression from government interference. So, it's our right to free speech to practice. It's a freedom of expression, and it consists of the rights to freedom of speech, press, assembly, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances, and implied rights of association and belief. So, it is the right to freedom of speech and allows individuals to express themselves without interference or constraint by the government. The Supreme Court requires the government to provide substantial justification for the interference with the right of free speech where it attempts to regulate the content of the speech. And I got that information off of law.cornell.edu. And so, what do you think about it now, Don? The First Amendment. How important do you think it is for us to know this?
I think there's a reason they put it first.
Mm-hmm. It helps us when we're, in confrontation with police.
We've
It
lost
also
the
allows
whole
us.
meaning of it because nobody is really taking advantage of the First Amendment.
True. That is true.
And if you use your First Amendment rights, say when you're dealing with a police officer, you're liable to get your ass beat.
Right.
So, it's like, yes, sir, officer, whatever you say.
Right. So sometimes when you are confronted by police and you because of your right to free speech, sometimes you may just be arrested and they may completely ignore what it is that you were explaining to them, and as far as you trying to protect your right to freedom of speech. However, when you go to court, usually it should stand up and it should be known that they were acting unlawfully because they were impeding on your right to freedom of speech. So there will be things that you will have to go through, and this is actually why we want to educate people about this, because we want to stop that. We don't want you to have to be arrested first and sit in jail and then go prove yourself simply for using your right to freedom of speech. That shouldn't be happening here in America.
I would say it shouldn't be, but they actually got a law too to take that away. Hate speech.
Mm-hmm.
The reason you got a First Amendment is so you can piss people off.
Right. Basically, so that
why would you need it?
Right. Right.
And if
That's
people don't
exactly
like what
right.
you're saying, the government will be right there to help you shut you down.
Right.
If they don't like what you're saying.
Right. Yeah, so wikianswers.com has said something similar to what you just said. They said that the reason why the First Amendment is so important is because it guarantees you that you can speak your mind without fear of prosecution from those who might not like what you say. So like you just said. And it also says that there are countries in which if you were to say you don't think the leader of the country is right in his decision to do this or that, you could be arrested or jailed for it in other countries. And that's actually one of the reasons why America is so awesome, is because we have our right to freedom of speech. And that's why we are trying to stand up and let people know about this, because we don't want it to get swept under the rug as it's continued to been done, because people just simply don't know or don't care enough about other people's rights to freedom of speech enough to stand up and make sure that that unlawful arrests don't happen to people who are practicing their freedom of speech. They also explain. I mean, it's kind of pretty self-explanatory. you know, but some people still, however, find that it's not very important to know about your right to freedom of speech. Yeah, so how would you feel if it was illegal for you to speak your mind? In America, it is not illegal to speak your mind, especially when you're not harming anyone with your words. You're just simply stating truth or a point of view. And,
Oh, sticks and stones will break my bones.
right.
How can I harm you with my words?
With my, that is true. There's something wrong with the person that is seriously damaged from words, but don't get me wrong, there are people who can be hurt by words really badly.
They do get hurt, but that's, you know, my right to hurt you with my words. It's freedom of speech. The reason I need that guarantee is because chances are you're not going to like what I have to say.
Right.
But I have the right to say it.
Right. We do. We should all
Otherwise,
respect everyone's rights to
Amendment
say what
if
it is
we
that
all
they
just
feel,
said
because
nice things to each other.
right. Right.
Not that I want to say mean things and hurt people, but you know,
Right.
that's why we need that right. Because we're not going to go around all the time just saying really wonderful things about each other. But everybody has to have the right to speak their mind, and especially when it comes to, you know, telling the government to back off.
Well, you guys, we're going to have a short video that is going to explain a little bit further about our rights to our First Amendment. And basically after that, I wanted to know, what if you got arrested for something you posted on Facebook? After this next video that explains a little bit more about our First Amendment rights, I want you to think about what if that happened to you, because I'm going to present to you another video that shows a Marine who was a sergeant in the military and the Marine Corps, and he was talking about the government and how he felt that he was uneasy with certain things going on, and he was speaking his mind and saying that there should be things done with the government. He was practicing his right to freedom of speech, and he gets arrested with no crime that he committed, and thus forth. So we'll be back at the end to discuss the rest of the two videos that we're going to show you guys and sum it up. So be back. Hope you enjoy it.
Well, it's a bill that has received very little attention, but may make free speech a felony and seriously restrict your right to political protest. Just signed into law by the president, H.R. 347 gives federal agents sweeping powers to arrest and bring felony charges against citizens engaged in protests where the Secret Service is present. Joining us now with more, Fox News senior judicial analyst, good friend, Judge Andrew Napolitano. Judge, the thing that jumps out off the page, felony?
Yeah, felony means more than a year in jail. This is not like a traffic ticket. For standing and protesting, the type of thing that for 230 years Americans took for granted because it was protected by the First Amendment, Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech, has actually been abridged by legislation the president signed last Thursday, supported overwhelmingly by both parties, with very, very little public debate and very little debate in Congress. Basically allows Secret Service agents to decide where there are no free speech zones, not speech zones, no free speech zones. And anybody by the Secret Service can, protected by the Secret Service, can ask those agents to ban protests wherever they are. So I can think of 3 violations: speech violations, association violations, the right to petition the government for a redress of your grievances. What good is free speech if the people in the government are so far away from you that they can't hear you?
Judge, what about keeping our elected officials safe?
Keeping our elected officials safe is entirely different from insulating them from protest. The fact that the president is going to a hotel up the block should not bar you from standing across the street with a sign or with a bullhorn saying what you think about the president's policies. That is not a threat to him, and it is a part of American history since day one that we have the right to speak freely to, about, and against those in the government.
Judge, do you think this is going to be one of those laws that is on the books but not enforced?
I think it's one of those laws that's going to be enforced when the government wants it enforced. The problem, Eric, is it puts a lot of unbridled discretion in the hands of Secret Service agents who may very well say, you know what, boss, you've had a rough day. We'll keep everybody away from you. Or, you know what, boss, this crowd likes you, so we're going to let them, we're going to let you hear them. That's suppressing speech on the basis of its content, and that has been expressly prohibited by the First Amendment since day one.
What dictates the Secret Service is present? In other words, aren't they present all over Washington, D.C.?
Well, they are, and that's a great question, because this law also allows the president to give Secret Service protection to whoever he wants. I'll give you a bizarre example. His campaign managers are coming to Washington to confer with him about the campaign. He can give them Secret Service protection. And then the Secret Service can say to the kids in the streets, you can't shout at David Axelrod, because the campaign manager, because the Secret Service is protecting him. This is a slow, creeping destruction of some of our basic liberties, and the president signed it in secret.
And now some of the Secret Service are going to be providing services for the candidates now as well, right?
Correct.
So
correct.
People aren't going to be able to have their opinion about the candidates?
If the Secret Service so declares, you won't be able to shout at them.
Judge, got to go. The economy's not bad. Sorry about that.